Results. The outcomes of our actions, the product of a chemical reaction, the hidden X in a mathematical equation. Results can mean so many different things, but we always tend to think about results as the positive, visible, tangible product of our efforts. I have these recurring dreams from time to time. One is that I'm sitting in an exam hall and I'm writing an examination or writing some assignment, and either time runs out and I'm unable to complete the exam, or I'm trying to submit my answers and the examiner just won't accept them. The other dream, and in my estimation something that's a lot more universally experienced, is that I get the results of an exam that I gave and it turns out that I didn't do very well at them. So for some context, for those who didn't understand what I was saying, as a kid growing up in India, results generally just means results of an examination. Especially the most important ones are secondary and higher secondary, which is standard 10 and standard 12 exams. And as you grow up, all your friends and all your relatives, adults of all kinds, always tell you how much of your future is dependent on the results of those examinations, how well you do in those exams. And the older you grow, the more you realize how much isn't dependent as well. So it's this interesting juxtaposition of it being very important and it also not being consequential in the end. But going through all of these examinations has an effect on all of us, just throughout the generations. It occupies our minds, it becomes a part of our subconscious. The subconscious, in my opinion, uses it to communicate one thing: fear. The fear of not measuring up to some invisible ideal, the fear that we just don't have enough time to do all the things that we've set out to do. It's as if we are in an invisible examination hall and there's an invisible examiner glaring at us with his invisible eyes and tapping at his invisible watch with his invisible hands. See, it's all invisible. It's all in our heads. It's a part of our subconscious imagination, but we all feel that icy glare all the same. This fear then morphs into a deep dissatisfaction. You see, because whatever we do, as we are kids growing up, we are so used to seeing grades and numbers attached with everything that we do that we don't feel good about ourselves until we see a tangible or visible artifact, a visible product of our actions. So I've been working out for over a year now. I started lifting these small weights, these 5-pound ones. I worked 2-3 times a week. I worked hard enough to get these slightly bigger weights on there, and sometimes even those aren't enough, so I have to use these ones, these 10-pound ones, and 2 or 3 times a week, as I said, I lift them up off to the side and all these other stuff, and I put it back down day after day, week after week for over 1 year, and I feel great. I feel more flexible, more limber, more lively. I eat better, I sleep better, and all these great things. But the only thing anybody ever asks about is, what about your results though? And of course, by results, people mean, where's your biceps and triceps? Why do you have a double chin? Where are your six-pack abs and all these other things? Because unless you can see a visible result of your actions, in this case, exercising, you might as well have done nothing at all, right? I turned 28 this past November. I think about how I'm going to be 30 in a couple of years, the big 3-0. Then I think about how unremarkable my 20s have been. How there were so many things that I wanted to do but didn't do or couldn't do, either because those things were withheld from me or I withheld myself from those things. Just lists upon lists of things to do that are left incomplete. One of those things I remember I wrote as a joke on my 25th birthday. It was a checklist of things that I'd like to do, and it was just a list of things, social skills, right? And on top it was learn how to talk to adults, and that was checked off. But there's just a big list of things that I still don't know how to do 3 years on, and that's learn how to interact with children, interact with infants, interact with animals, learn how to interact in a group party setting, and all a list of these things. And I digress. It's just an example I'm trying to give of all the things that I wanted to do but couldn't do, and I still feel inadequate or still feel like a man child. So I got to thinking about this, and I realized that I'm heading into my 30s feeling like I have a blank scrapbook, something like this, just empty pages, no glitter, no sequins, no fancy pictures, whereas everybody else has a full scrapbook full of different memories, full of different fun that they had, and so on. And that filled me with dread. It's as if at the moment that I turn 30, somebody's going to come in with a report card showing me all the different aspects of life that I got a bad grade in. Or even worse, it'd just be a blank report card with 2 words, no remarks. Because I'm the worst thing of all in this world. I'm an unremarkable man who had an unremarkable decade. And that's just it, isn't it? If you don't live out those fantasies, those frivolities in your 20s, the time to do so has run out, because certain things have to be done by a certain age, right? Well, my answer to both those things is going to be, well, of course not. To those who want visible results for everything, and to those who want everything to be done within a particular time frame, is simple. Number one, I'd just say, try to do things for their own sake. I mean, not everything has to be a competition or a goal or a hustle or anything like that. I mean, these days I see people tying things to hashtag hustle 365 days. Like, oh, I just made food, hashtag hustle. I just slept for 8 hours, hashtag hustle. I took a walk in nature and that helped me learn about whatever so-and-so business productivity stuff. Stop doing that kind of stuff. I mean, there's two things here. There's extrinsic motivation by completely outside factors, outside of yourself, so punishments or rewards. And then there's intrinsic motivation, where the act of doing something is its own reward. Right? Look at these videos that I make. Do you think I have any goals of being a big YouTube star or being rich and famous? No, I just love making these videos because I just have that inner compulsion to do these things. Right? Like Dev Anand used to make movies back in the day. I mean, deep down inside, he knew that the movies that he made, nobody was watching them. But he just loved making movies, and so he did. So that's intrinsic motivation. And going back to the examiner thing, you don't have that invisible examiner looking at everything. Whether you call it society, or whether you call it judgment of other people, or just the innate assumptions that you have about yourself, it's all in your head. The second thing is that you have more time than you think you do. I mean, for every 30 under 30, 40 under 40, 20 under 20 list, there's so many examples of people who had to live a hard life and finally achieve their goals at a more advanced age. Why don't you take inspiration from that instead of all these putting pressure on yourself for, oh, I need to buy a house by this age, and I need to have a family by this age, and I need to have so-and-so title by this age. These are all, I understand the need for a challenge in life, but sometimes these are too overbearing and overburdening on people. And I just, personally, I feel the burden of that, again, the subconscious thing, right? Going back to the dreams of, why am I having dreams of not being accepted? Why am I having dreams of not finishing on time? This is all what that's about. Is there are all these factors that are playing into your subconscious. So yeah, life doesn't really always pan out the way you want it to. You can make n number of plans, but in the end, life takes its course, and you always have to be in a position of reacting to something that's happened. I remember when I was a kid in school, people used to make fun of me and saying things like, oh, he lives in his own world. And the older I grow, the clearer it is to me that it's the way to be. And I'm not saying that you have to escape the reality and run away into a fantasy land. I'm talking about just living life on your own, right? So thinking about the dude from The Big Lebowski, Right, on one hand, you have his friend Walter, who is just so stuck to the old ways of doing things and stuck to the structure of it all. And there's the nihilists on the other end who are like the so-called villains of the story, and they don't believe in anything. And then there's a dude who just lives his life. There's this quote in the AV Club. I'll put it up on the screen right now. It says, "We envy the dude for knowing himself, for escaping the need to conform, and for rejecting mainstream society for the little one that grows around him." That's what I'm talking about. And I don't really have a way of concluding this. This is what it is. This is my opinion. And if you disagree with it, well, that's just your opinion, man. Thanks for watching. This is a bit more of an experimental video that I did. I don't usually mix and match stuff like I did in this video. So thank you so much for watching if you did till the end. And remember, your insecurities are someone's opportunities. So be brave enough to live your life. I'll see you next time.